What is up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today is the day that we hopefully finally get this engine put together. I got another socket today. It is a Cobalt 14mm 12-point socket, and it is a 1/2 inch drive. Now, I really wanted a Craftsman. They only had it in a shorty, and I wanted a deep weld. That way I made sure nothing happened. Anyway, the one thing I do want to say before we get started, guys, I've had a couple people hit me up about possibly becoming a Patreon. If you do want to do that, I am going to bring it back. There is a link in the description below. Do not feel obligated to do that, but if you do want to help, it could help us make better content and make just better content. So anyways, guys, we'd greatly appreciate it if you do that. Do not feel obligated. Also, we are going to be working with a new camera today. I am on the T3i right now, but I do have another camera over there. It is a 2.7K and a 4K camera, so we're probably going to move into that direction a lot more in the near future. Right now I'm still getting some of the settings set up and I'm having a lot of trouble, so I will be using it a little bit today, but we're still going to be using the old War Wagon, the old tank, the T3i that's absolutely massive. Anyway, let's get down there. Everything is set up. Let's get the new socket on the torque wrench. Let's hope this guy works. Let's get this head torque down. Man, I hope this works out. Guys, here we go. Put this guy. Ugh. Man, you little bastard. Alright, you know, I'm not going to bother you. Alright, get down there though. There was a mouse in my toolbox. Scared the shit out of me. Oh no, just having trouble going on the torque wrench. Oh man, that's got me nervous. God, I hope this goes together well. Alright guys, we're set at 20 foot-pounds. Finally got the ARP head studs on. It took a lot longer than I wanted it to, mostly because I had the same issue with the Cobalt socket that I had out of the Harbor Freight socket. Yeah, I can't blame this one on a Harbor Freight tool no more. But everything worked out okay. Actually getting it on the nut wasn't that hard, and that's what I was mostly concerned about. Is trying to tap it on there and thinking I have it on the nut all the way, and I don't. Going to get a torque and then it's slipping and accidentally rounding a part of the nut off and then just causing a mess. We don't want that. Luckily, it mostly felt coming off of the nuts than it did going on the nuts. I'm not sure why the snap-on socket didn't really have an issue. It got a little hung up, but nothing like these. I'm not sure why that is. I'm not going to sit here and say it's because it's snap-on. It's super expensive, nothing like that. I don't know. I have no idea. But what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to go ahead and get the rockers in. We're going to get the camshafts in. I am going to put the AEM cam gears on this setup, mostly for looks. Later on we are going to be using them with stage 2 cams to degree them in, but I have them, might as well use them. So I'm also going to be timing it up with the gauge timing belt and kind of showing you guys a trick that I use to time this engine up. It makes it a lot easier. So let's go ahead and get everything in the top end. Got all that done, and I cannot find the camshaft seals that I have for this engine. So I just called AutoZone. They do have two, only one around me that has two. So I'm gonna try just real quick, see if I can find those, and then we're gonna head to AutoZone and pick those up. I do not want to pay $8.99 a piece for camshaft seals, because I have camshaft seals. But being that I'm irresponsible, I'm a child, and I lost my camshaft seals. I guess I'm gonna have to pay $8.99 a piece for camshaft seals. It sucks. Wait a minute. Oh, got them right here. Right, I knew I had them here. Knew I had them. I didn't know I would pay $8.99 a piece for something that I already have, more or less. Right here. Camshaft seals. Yeah, baby. So I'm literally getting ready to install the camshaft seals, and I noticed that they gave me 3 of them. That's right, 3. I guess they assume I'm gonna mess one of them up. Not sure. Actually, pretty stoked. I'm gonna put one of them back just in case I ever have an issue. Hopefully I don't. These don't go out very often on these engines at all. While I'm doing that, kind of give you guys a little insight of how I install them and why I install them the way that I do. So basically, as you see, the camshaft is completely released. Yes, I know that rocker's a little boogered up. I'm going to straighten it up here in a second. The camshafts are completely released. They're not bolted down. They're under zero stress. This is when I install the camshaft seal. Basically, just get it, slide it on there, and you're good to go. It actually kind of bump up in there a little bit. The amount of force it takes to put the camshaft seal on there when it is released like this is a lot less than if it was completely tightened down, which pretty much just reduces chance of error. It's really a super easy install either way. I like doing it this way just because it's a little easier for me because it's already released. But if you're just popping your cam gears off and you don't want to take all this stuff off, you're just trying to, hey man, I'm doing some routine maintenance on my timing belt, I'm going to pull my cam gears off, put these in. You can do it with the cam fully tightened down too. It doesn't hurt anything. Be torquing down the cams, and this is one of the most nerve-wracking parts for me because I have had so many issues out of tightening cam caps, as far as like cam cap bolts breaking to where you can barely get them out of the head. And then the one I hate the most, which is you be basically torquing it down and all of a sudden it just gets super loose, which means you pulled threads out of the head, which is really bad. A machine shop can fix that, but in our case right now we would have to take the head back off, which means untorquing the head studs, which renders us once again without head studs. Maybe could helicoil it or something where it is at. I don't necessarily know. I've always just sent it to a machine shop, let them take care of it. This wouldn't be that big of a deal. I mean, it still made me nervous, but nothing like it is now if it wasn't for the way it was put together. Now, I didn't do a video of us taking this engine apart. There was multiple head studs that were barely torqued. There were multiple head studs that were extremely over torqued. And that pretty much is the same thing for the cam caps. There were some that were nowhere near torque and some that were probably quite a bit over torque to the point the bolt had to be getting ready to break. I've had these little bolts snap even when I'm dead on torque. So we're gonna go at it, hope for the best. Let's hope and pray we do not take the cylinder head back off. I'm gonna be nervous until I get all these cam caps tightened up, I swear. Alright, so I'm getting all the cam caps where they are flush. Not necessarily not loose, but just flush. I want the cam caps sitting all the way against the head. Oh, I'm nervous about this. Come on, little torque wrench, don't mess something up. I'm nervous. Go slow. There she goes, she's getting tight. So is my rear orifice. Oh, oh, oh. cam caps torqued down. It went great. Super stoked on that. Extremely happy that went well. I was super nervous that was going to be where we ran into an issue. Hopefully we're out of the woods as far as issues go with this engine. Now the 8mm bolts you were going to torque to 9 foot-pounds, and then the 10mm bolts you were going to torque to 18 foot-pounds. Just in case anybody had trouble finding that information, I have everything wrote down back there from where I've put these engines together in the past. Makes life a whole lot easier, and this is usually, like I said, the most stressful part for me. I'm going to get everything together. We'll put the cam gears on, and then we'll put all the, basically the timing stuff that's not on there now, and get this thing ready to have the Gates timing belt put on it. And I'll show you guys how I time this engine up. Before I go and install these AEM cam gears, which are silver, and you'll understand why that's important here in a second, I want to explain something because I know I'm going to get asked, why are those bolts such a weird color and where did you get them? Well, these are the OEM bolts, and they look like doo-doo, and I was going to paint them, but I don't think paint would set up in time, and it would just mar up once I put a socket on it, so I colored them with a Sharpie. So don't hate on me. It's not like something that's going to affect performance. It made me feel better, and I colored them with a Sharpie. So let's get these cam gears on the engine. So I want to explain how I time these engines up and make it super easy. It's actually very simple. What you want to do is basically, I start by putting the timing belt on the crank. I normally knock the crank off a few teeth advance. So you have this line, or this mark, and they need to meet. So normally I'll run the crank something like that. Go ahead and put my timing belt on, run it through here. Go ahead and pull that slack out of it once you get it like that. And on the cam gears, now you want your cam gears lined up. If they're not perfect, you know, like that right there, just a little bit, it's not going to hurt. Once you pull that slack out, it'll line them up. Now, almost all my slack, as you can see, is on this side. There's almost none on that side. See that? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this tensioner down. And this right here is a way to basically see if you're going to have an issue before you even tighten your tensioner. And this is how I do every single 420A timing belt. It's just my way of doing it. Alright, so I put a flathead screwdriver behind it. Now I pry it up. It's going to pull tension on that belt. As you can see, let me get that screwdriver just a little bit better. As you can see, she's good. Alright, now what I'm going to do, I want to get that screwdriver actually in there just a little bit better. We'll get a little more pry up on that tensioner. Now that I've got that tension kind of preloaded, go ahead and lock that down. Pop that right there. As you can see, my cam gears are good. I don't know if the camera's actually going to be able to see the cam gears. If you can look up there, guys, the cam gears are good. Now go ahead and take you off the tripod for a second. And then she is in spec. That right there is the dot. That's what it's making up to, and that's how you time up a 420A. Super simple. Now right here, as you can see, it's not on the tensioner. That's not going to hurt. As I run it around a few times, it will basically fall into where it needs to be. So let's go ahead and make a couple passes with it. Oh. Alright, she's bringing in, good Lord, she's got a lot of compression. You want to do this a couple times. I don't really know how many times you'd want to do it. Basically, just watch that belt, let it ride into its groove. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run till this mark meets up again. Shit meets up. Cams look like they're off. Do one more. Cams are off a little more. Well, the opposite. Actually, hold on a minute. I think it's 5 rounds. There it is. Cams are dead on. I thought they were on earlier, but they wasn't. So that's how you do it. That's exactly how you time up an engine. Cams are on. You see right there, cams are lined up, and we're on TDC on the crank. That's how I do it. That's how I've always done it. Now, if you turn that engine around 3 times and it doesn't, the cams don't line up as you see that one time they didn't, don't panic. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 times of running them around. Eventually, normally I would do 1 rotation, check, 1 rotation, check, 1 rotation, check. If you do that about 7 or 8 times and they don't line up, they still are off, you're off somewhere. Eventually they should, I think within 7 times, I can't remember how many times it is for it to actually go back to TDC, but within that it should at least 1 time the cam should line up. That right there means you are good. As you see, I think it took, I have no idea how many times I spun that motor over, but they do line up. They are good. We are on TDC. We are good to go. Alright, so we ran into what looked like a pretty serious issue. Luckily, it's a pretty simple fix. I'm not sure what or how he was running these cam gears. The guy I got these cam gears off of, they have always looked weird ever since I got them. And this is how they look right here. Kind of show you guys, if you see that. Always thought that looked odd. I'm like, maybe they were like that. I don't remember. I haven't had a set of AEMs in a while. Well, once I put the timing belt on, it rode halfway on the cam gear and halfway off. But everything else, it was perfectly in alignment. So I took the cam gear apart, and this is what I found. This was interesting. All these little washers right here were in the cam gear. In between the face of the cam gear, if I can get that off, and the teeth. But it was actually flipped. As you can see where the washers sat. And this actually was in here like that. That's wrong. This is the way the cam gear is supposed to sit. So I'm gonna go ahead and fix this and get everything back together, and then I'll show you guys how I'm timing this motor up. I've already done it once, and then yeah, you can imagine the stress that I felt. Like, why is this thing look like it's derailing when nowhere else does it look like it's derailing? Because the belt wasn't actually derailing. He's done something to the cam gears. I don't know why he done it, but they've been modified. This is what happens when you buy people's used parts. Anyways, let me fix the cam gears and then we'll do this. Alright, so we've got our timing belt back on for the second time. I've got everything timed up. It's actually working now. We're going to take a couple rotations and see if she's going to show us any love and derail this time. So let you guys watch as I turn this guy over. Let's see what we got. Ooh. Now you're hearing that because there's no spark plugs in it right now. I want to put the spark plugs in it and just see how much we get. Alright, she's good. Alright, so we got it timed up for the second time, and that is going to be the final time. After flipping the cam gears and putting them back together correctly, we have 0 issues with belt alignment. I have no idea why they were put together that way in the first place. In between the face of the cam gear and the sprocket part of the cam gear was packed with washers, and the washers were different from one cam gear to another, so I'm not sure how that wasn't causing an issue on his build either. I know these were actually ran on a dual overhead cam Neon engine, which is pretty much a 420A with the intake and exhaust flipped around. Neon guys hate when we call it a 420A, but it's pretty much 420A. So I have no idea how that wasn't causing issues on his build, because it was definitely going to cause quite a few on ours. But now let's put that together. Everything is lined up. Everything is going to be working good. I'm going to throw a valve cover on it and push it back in the back. Next weekend, when I get a chance, we're going to go ahead and put it the rest of the way together. More than likely going to go ahead and pull the trans, put it together as a unit, and then we're going to drop it in. I think, guys, we're about 2 or 3 weeks away from a first start with this puppy. I'm really excited for this. Hopefully everything runs good. We were having some issues with it running when we pulled it, but we come to find out I fixed all the issues as far as timing and everything. We were still having a couple little issues, but we come to find out the knock sensor wasn't hooked up, and that can definitely cause some pretty extreme issues on these engines. They're not very happy when they don't have a knock sensor. So anyways, guys, this is going to be the video. I hope you liked it. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Helps a lot. If you have anything you want to say, guys, don't be afraid to drop a comment. I love hearing from you guys. Also, smack that subscribe button. If you want to become a Patreon, down in the description below. Truly Boosted Nitro Kid 98. Get you 10% off the whole store, guys. And we'll catch you next time, guys.